Hey everybody, welcome back to The Stuff of Legend. My name is D'Lo. I've got another video for you guys. I'm going to be doing a Black Widow movie problem solved video. So if you guys are going to be tuning in, I just want to let you guys know that there will be Endgame spoilers discussed in this video. The ban for spoilers was lifted by the Russo brothers today, and I waited until tonight so that you guys could have the full day to just prep. And I'm going to have this Endgame spoilers notification on screen, so if anyone is tuning in and may want to be watching as well, and maybe you haven't seen Endgame, I would recommend please don't watch this as much as I do appreciate the views. Go and watch Endgame. Don't allow this to spoil that experience for you, and then we will get into this discussion when you come back, okay? Because this will be available for you guys to watch afterward, all right? So thank you. Let's go ahead and jump right into this video. So again, Nerdy Blurb TV, okay, the clickbait has awakened the Nerdy Blurb TV from his slumber. LOL multiverse, that's correct. And I actually am going to be addressing the multiverse specifically and addressing some issues that people are frustrated with online. So it's not clickbait, it's actually directly ties into what I'm talking about here. But I appreciate that, and feel free to chime in and ask questions as we go in the comments, and let me know what you guys want to be talking about, and maybe I can address some of these concerns as well. So if you guys already saw Endgame, then you're welcome to join this video as well. And if you guys have seen the Spider-Man Far From Home trailer, the one that dropped today, there was some Endgame spoilers in that as well, okay? And it talks about that, and that's partially why I have to put this notice out, is even though the ban has been lifted, I want to be fair to you guys and give you guys that quick heads up. So if you guys pop into the video, you'll see this notice, and you'll be able to click away before you get too much of what we're talking about. So now let's not waste any time. So in the Spider-Man Far From Home trailer, one thing that jumped out to me was the fact that the plot started to be revealed about Mysterio and where he comes from. Now, if you guys don't know who Mysterio is a deceiver. He's a liar. He's a special effects artist. And so in the comics, if they're going to stick to that in the movies, he doesn't really have superpowers. It's all special effects. It's all trickery. He's plotting with other individuals to make these things play out like a movie. It's like he's choreographed these fights to work out the way that he wants and the way that he's going to win, with some struggle and some suffering. But I believe that he's pulling the wool over S.H.I.E.L.D.'s eyes and making them believe that in the wake of the snap and the massive, immense, crazy events that have taken place, that he is this person from an alternate multiverse dimension. I don't personally believe that the multiverse was ripped open, although if it does, that's a really easy way to kind of just fit the X-Men in, but not in the way that you guys think. I'll make another video about that. It's a lot of people online have been very concerned about the multiverse and about time travel being like a cop-out for storytelling, so you can just do whatever you want, no rules apply, and no consequences ever exist, and it's a cheap way to write stories. Well, if you guys saw Endgame, you already know that yes, there is time travel involved, but it's not a cop-out. There are consequences, and there are people who do come back as a result of time travel, but again, there are consequences. So people like, for instance, Gamora, who comes back, is going to be someone who doesn't remember everything with Peter Quill. That love interest doesn't just continue on. That's something, if it's going to continue, it has to be built from the ground up. And so Peter Quill has to suffer the loss of the Gamora that he loved, but possibly he has a chance at falling in love again. And so there are going to be consequences to that. Now, if you're one of those people that are like, they have to die or there's no story, I don't know, dude. Like, I've made videos before about the deaths in Marvel and how there is, in fact, consequences to the Marvel movies. But, you know, to each his own. Maybe you have a different appreciation. Maybe the Game of Thrones people are just getting too crazy online and being like, everything needs to be Game of Thrones where everyone dies every episode. So that's another story. But nevertheless, let me just take a couple comments and then I'll get back to my train of thought. Nerdy Blurb TV says, perfect. That's because literally what I've been filming all day. Expect shout outs to this video on our channel. Heck yeah, dude. And everyone go check out Nerdy Blurb TV, the best and the baddest on the internet. Love this guy. He's got the craziest editing in the world. You should go check him out. and he does it all himself. It's awesome. And he says, he a bad guy. Be careful, Pete. Yes, Mysterio is a bad guy, and he should be careful. And then he says, very interesting that he's from the multiverse. I for sure think it happened. I truly don't believe they'll introduce the X-Men that way. It's dope and true. What is a Game of Thrones? Game of Thrones is a TV series on HBO. It's like one of the most highest rated TV shows of all time, or something like that. It's nuts. I don't watch it because there's like a lot of adult content there that I try to avoid, but you know, a lot of people watch it. A lot of people like it. I know a good deal about it just from pop culture talk and stuff like that. Nerds like myself who just chit chat and that kind of thing. But nevertheless, as far as the multiverse, people were very concerned about that. I don't think that that's how they're going to do the X-Men, because I don't believe that Mysterio is from the multiverse. The quote was, the snap caused a rip in our universe. And then Peter's like, are you saying there's a multiverse? And they allude to that. And then Mysterio is basically just telling everybody, I'm from a different dimension. The snap ripped a hole and sucked me through, or whatever. I don't think that's the case, because he is a pathological liar. He is a liar. And I believe that that's not what happened. He's taking advantage of a very weak society that's trying to grow back from these ashes and regain, you know, all the loved ones and get back together with everybody. I think he's just taking advantage of a very overworked system. And I also think that this is going to be a really good example for us. Okay, so we talk about people who died and people who come back, right? I don't think it's cheap to use time travel or the multiverse when you're dealing in comic book movies, because that's one of the tools used in comic book movies to tell the stories. It's not like you're just using time travel as a cheap way to create new stories in comics. Comics do time travel. Comics do multiverse. That's part of comics. That's part of what it is. That's part of the essence. And they've gone a long way in the Marvel universe without having to tap into any kind of multiverse or time travel. This is, you know, it's very new for us. And I don't think that's going to be where they're going ongoing. I think this is going to be a special event, and I think that they're going to try to keep their continuity as clean as possible. And this leads us into a lot of the complaints and concerns about Black Widow. So the reason I'm making this video was because of what we heard in the Far From Home trailer. It led me to do more research based on questions that were raised in my own head about Black Widow. We know that the Black Widow movie has been confirmed. It's been announced, but there's no release date yet. Kate Shortland is directing. Writers are Ned Benson, who's doing the screenplay, and Dawn Heck, who's a comic book who does comic books and characters. And then there's Scarlett Johansson is still attached to star, with Florence Pugh and Rachel Weisz. And then who else was there? I have it all right here. Give me 1 second. There is David Harbour is attached to the film, as well as O.T. Fagbenley. And these guys, a few of these guys I'm not familiar with. I had to look up. But as soon as I did, I had a very strong suspicion. I know exactly where this is going, and it supports my theory about multiverse and time travel not being cheap. We know that Marvel has saved time travel for special events like this 11-year anniversary as an Endgame, and they use it very carefully, making sure that there were still consequences, and it wasn't a nothing has any consequences type of thing. It was very heavy. It was very specific with the way that they had to use it, and there certainly were consequences. People that lost their lives in time travel specifically was Natasha Romanoff. And we know that Black Widow's getting a movie. What we know is that Scarlett Johansson will be playing Natasha Romanoff, Black Widow. But what we don't know is who is the actual star of the film. We know that Scarlett Johansson's probably the highest paid individual on that roster. But I'm going to be willing to bet that Florence Pugh ends up being the main character. Unless this is a flashback, if this is current timeline, then Black Widow's dead. At least the Black Widow that we know. In the comics, there are several Black Widows, okay? So Black Widow is someone who it's a title that is passed. It's a torch that is passed by many members of a society that was called. Let me see if I can recall. It was the Red Room. So the Moscow Red Room Espionage Unit, and this was alluded to, if you guys recall, back in Avengers: Age of Ultron. There was a flashback sequence where Black Widow got to recall in her memory all of the different things that she had to suffer through, endure, while she was being forged into this living weapon and spy that she now is, the assassin, the spy for Russia. But she was not loyal to Russia. She was what she was made to be. And as soon as she got a chance, as soon as she saw goodness in Clint Barton, when he came and he was sent to assassinate her, but instead he made a different call. He chose to save her, pull her out of that life. He showed her a new direction, and then she became loyal to S.H.I.E.L.D. So she became an agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. And she left that lifestyle, but she was the best of them until another came along. So this is where I want to talk to you guys about someone named, I believe her name is Yelena. Let me see if it was Yelena Belova. So Yelena Belova was one of the Black Widows. I believe she was the second Black Widow, if I'm not mistaken. She is blonde. She has blue eyes. She's 5'7", 135 pounds. And Yelena was at age 15. This is kind of her backstory. I'm reading off of Marvel.com. So at age 15, Yelena was chosen as a candidate to become the new Black Widow, as Natasha Romanoff was no longer loyal to only Russia. She trained for roughly a decade under this tool bench, this guy that was a total dirtbag, at the espionage academy known as the Red Room. We saw this in Age of Ultron, and we actually got to see several other ladies that fit the description of Yelena behind. Let me see if I can just pull this up. I'm going to see if I can go ahead and transition to another screen here. I'll still have the spoiler warning on the screen so you guys can see, but I'm going to go ahead and try. Okay, on the screen, do you see this right here? So there's a lady, there's two ladies, two younger girls behind Scarlett Johansson here in this image, while she's at the Red Room training espionage and assassination. And this was with a flashback sequence in Age of Ultron. Both of those gals are blonde, and they're younger. They fit the description of Yelena. So technically, one could assume that one of these young ladies was Yelena, being trained as a younger girl up after Natasha Romanoff. So I'm going to go ahead and take this one away for a second. And I'm going to get back to here. So this is the chick, Florence Pugh, that is attached to the Black Widow movie just after Scarlett Johansson. So you see this? There's Scarlett Johansson, and then there's Florence Pugh. So Florence Pugh, and then Rachel Weisz. Rachel Weisz, I believe, is going to be one of the mentors that is in the Red Room. She's going to be training these guys. I think either David Harbour or O.T. Fagbenle are going to be the individuals that are either the primary villain or the male douchebag lead that is going to be overseeing all of these young ladies and, you know, abusing them in every kind of possible way you can imagine to train them into these killing machines with no feelings, no emotion, and everything. He basically destroys these young ladies. So I think that's what's going to happen. It's possible that they're going to include some like really cool villain like Taskmaster or something. David Harbour would be perfect for that. I think he would be amazing in that role. But nevertheless, we're looking at a really cool movie here. And let me see. So we have this guy's OT. We have Scarlett Johansson, who's attached. And then Florence Pugh, I think, is going to be the younger Black Widow, Yelena Belova. That's her name. And so let me just go ahead and circle back to my notes because I want to try to give you guys what it was that I was writing down. So as if the multiverse exists, then can any character that died just automatically come back? Well, no, because we know that Black Widow is dead effectively. We know that there are characters that can come back if you mess with the timeline. That's true, but there are consequences for those things. It's not just willy-nilly, and Marvel, I don't believe, is going to do that all the time from here on out. I think that was just a a one-time thing basically until perhaps they want to do Kang, but I think that'll just be him visiting from the future, and then they're not going to explore time travel very much. I would highly doubt that that's going to be the case. Probably more or less a visitor or a villain from the future comes back, and then they just have to fight him in their current timeline. So then does time travel, but that's my speculation. I have no proof for that other than what we know from Marvel ongoing. So up till this point, we've only seen it one time. Doesn't mean it won't happen again, but it's not likely because it was a special event type of movie. So anyway, does time travel in the multiverse mean anything is possible and there are zero consequences? The answer is both yes and no, because we talk about them bringing certain individuals back. Certain individuals that were destined to die end up not dying, like Loki, for instance. But then we also get individuals like Nebula and Gamora, who then get opportunities to come into the future from the past, whereas they might have died in the future, that kind of thing. Those things are yes and no. There are consequences to everything. It's not just a scotch-free ride. Scot-free ride, sorry. But then, so then my next thing was Endgame proved to us that they can handle time travel responsibly, and the consequences are 100% real. When traveling back in time, Black Widow went to the past and was killed. She sacrificed herself, and she doesn't get to come back from that just because they unsnapped what Thanos did. That was permanent. Just like Vision did not come back. That was permanent as well. And so, although I will be willing to bet that they'll rebuild a version of Vision, and then Wanda will be able to use her magic to kind of just, do stuff. That's a whole different thing, though. But back in time, so she went back to the past. She didn't get to come back from that. Black Widow did not. But isn't there a Black Widow movie coming out in the next couple of years? The answer is yes. How is this possible then? So I know a lot of people want there to be the consequences to be real. We don't want to take away from, and I'm one of them. I don't want Black Widow to just not be dead. Her death meant something, and it would mean so much less if they just said, we can just go back and save her. Because they already saved the entire world at the cost of her sacrificing her life. I don't think they're going to do that. Even though they did that kind of with Gamora, I think that her going back and doing the Soul Stone, sacrificing her life before Gamora did, allows her to be that person that just lays down her life for the team. I think she will be used as a flashback individual. I think that she will be that primary motivation for Yelena Belova to want to be the best of the best. She's always constantly her whole life being compared to Natasha Romanoff, who is the best of the best. But she wasn't loyal. And so Yelena just trained and trained and trained to be the best and the best. And so she eventually surpasses where Natasha Romanoff is, and she becomes that. So I think that it's going to be Scarlett Johansson constantly in the film as this like image of what she needs to be, and she's constantly fighting with this expectation. And it's her. You see her in the flashbacks, you see her in her own memory, and then maybe she does it shows her encountering her at one point. Maybe the movie is a flashback. Maybe it does take place before Scarlett Johansson was dead. But I still, even though that to me sounds a little bit more interesting, because I would like to see what happens in the past with her and Clint Barton. I want to see those things, but it would also be good if you have a new Black Widow take the mantle of Black Widow, and I'll get to why in just a second. So then let me see if it's a prequel, or if the film could carry the timeline forward. I think it would be better if it was not a prequel, because I want these movies to keep going forward in the timeline. I would be totally down for a movie to take place in the past, 100%. But I think it'd be better to just keep the MCU going. But personal preference aside, let's talk about how confirming a Black Widow movie after Endgame, after it just killed Black Widow, how is that going to support our perception of responsible use for time travel? You know what I mean? How is it going to affect our opinions of responsible use of multiverse and time travel in the MCU? That's the question, right? That's the question of the day. Is is it taking away from the story to use multiverse and time travel? And then that brings me back to Yelena Belova. I don't think that the Black Widow movie is actually about Black Widow as we know her. It's not about Natasha Romanoff. I believe it's about this chick. It's about Yelena Belova, the blonde Black Widow that comes after Natasha Romanoff. So let's take a look at just the first couple lines here. So first we have, at age 15, Yelena was chosen as a candidate to become the new Black Widow, as Natasha Romanoff was no longer loyal to only to Russia. She trained roughly for a decade under this douche, and then the espionage academy known as the Red Room, same facility which Natasha Romanova had trained. That's the Natasha Romanoff that we know from the movies. And then unbeknownst to Yelena, as she grew older, the douche was obsessed and blah, 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 gross stuff. And then graduating from the Red Room, Yelena became the first student to surpass Natasha Romanoff's marks. Eager to prove herself better than Natasha and establish role to claim the title of Black Widow, Yelena interfered with Natasha's quest for Deathless Frenzy, a bioweapon held by terrorist Colonel Khan in Rapistan. And Yelena sought to secure the lethal serum for her superiors to eliminate her adversary, which is Natasha. So then they get into a scuffle and they face off, and it's crazy. But Yelena comes out on top, but she lets Natasha get away. So this would be a mission that takes place in the past. So this would take place when Natasha Romanoff is currently alive. And this would have to be probably before she even joined the Avengers officially, or at least before she was known. Probably right around Iron Man 2 time. And so, and then you go down to this one. Wishing to teach Yelena a lesson, Natasha then worked with Nick Fury and S.H.I.E.L.D. on Operation Validate, which entailed the two widows exchanging physical appearances. So then they do like a face swap, body swap. And you know what's interesting about that is that in Avengers Infinity War and in the beginning of Avengers Endgame, we see Natasha Romanoff with blonde hair. She looks like Yelena. It looks like they did that body swap almost. Not like the face swap, but we did see her use that gear in, what was it again? It was either, was it Winter Soldier, Age of Ultron, or Civil War? I'm getting them all amalgamated in my brain right now. I got to go back and watch them. But nevertheless, we saw, Black Widow take off the face mask as she was pretending to be that Hydra agent. And so I think, we've seen her do certain things that tease this kind of thing, working with S.H.I.E.L.D. To just change physical appearances, play the blonde instead of the redhead. And then while Yelena was struggling to maintain her identity, Natasha duped Yelena's superior, Yuri Stalyenko. And anyway, there's like a whole fun like spy mission that happens here. Then she gets tied up with the mutants in the Savage Land and Electro and all kinds of other people that we're going to probably eventually see in the MCU. Probably like 15 years down the road or something. It's probably a while, but nevertheless, a lot of cool stuff. She becomes a Hydra agent. She goes back and forth. The cool thing about Yelena is that unlike Natasha, she's not loyal to any good side. She's loyal to the Russians. She's loyal to the bad guys. She's a bad guy, essentially. So even though she does end up kind of having to like flip here and work with someone there and work with people that are maybe neutral or good or of good intent, like S.H.I.E.L.D. or something like that, Yelena is a bad guy. And it would be really cool to get a Black Widow movie where it's actually following the story of a bad guy. Someone who isn't intentionally good. Someone who isn't actually trying to join the Avengers and stand up for what's right and that kind of thing. Because Natasha Romanoff would. But Yelena Belova would not. Yelena Belova would be freaking savage. This would be like watching The Winter Soldier. In fact, this movie would be a Winter Soldier storyline for Natasha Romanoff. So if it is in the past, it would be a sick story to tell for both Natasha and Yelena, and then it would set up Yelena to be the Black Widow ongoing and maybe tell a Marvel movie's story from the perspective of the villain. You know what I mean? Like, that would be pretty crazy. You could have S.H.I.E.L.D. be the good guys and then Yelena be, the bad guy or whatever you want to do. But she's basically like the Winter Soldier to Black Widow. I think this is very likely where they're going with the Black Widow movie. Given the casting that was done, you got Florence Pugh, who's, I believe she's a little bit younger. Let me see if I can find her age really quick. Duplicate. Florence Pugh age. 23 years. Yeah, she's a lot younger. So she's 23 years. That's much, much younger than, for instance, Scarlett Johansson age. 34. Yep. So it's a few years younger. 11 years, in fact. So that's actually, that kind of supports my theory there. You know what I mean? And I don't know, guys. Like, I'm going to take some comments really quick and we can see what's going on here. But let's check over in this department. So after this, it says, I don't know. Nerdy Blurb TV says, LOL, I know, I just don't watch it. Oh, as far as Game of Thrones. And then you say, okay, wait there for a second. Is a multiverse, though, in the MCU? We've seen it. Oh, there is a multiverse. I won't argue that he is or isn't. He could possibly be lying, but the multiverse is there. And then it says, YouTuber The Weekly Rant recently made a video on how Black Widow is still alive, and I actually believed him. Pretty interesting theory. I'll have to check that out. I've also heard through the grapevine that it's all an origin and TV series on Disney Plus, not a movie for Black Widow. Whether a show or movie, I heard origin. I would hope to see an origin, but even if it is an origin, it very likely could have a Yelena Belova in the movie, and could be setting us up, because like Captain Marvel, for instance, is an origin movie. It's a flashback movie that takes place in the 90s. The next movie we get for Captain Marvel is very likely going to be current. It's probably not going to be in the in-between years. It's probably going to be taking place after Endgame. And it might still be in space, might still be with the relationships she had back then. Who knows what it's going to be about? But the odds are that it's not, if it's not an origin movie, why would they keep going to the past for that? There's so much more story to be told. It's very likely that they could be doing the same thing with Black Widow here, even though we've seen her in like, 7 movies now. She hasn't gotten an origin story. So you could be absolutely 100% right that this is an origin movie. I haven't seen it confirmed yet, so I'm taking your word for it here that it is an origin movie. But I believe it'll be some Black Widow's origin movie nevertheless. It's either going to be Natasha Romanoff's as a flashback film, or it could be Yelena Belova as a flashback film, or Yelena Belova as a current MCU version of her origin story. So maybe not 100% timeline accurate according to the comics, but they could just make it work for the MCU. So that is a possibility. Now, if it's on Disney's streaming service, that's a totally different thing. I would love that. That sounds great to me. But it looks to me like it's going to be a movie, and I have only ever seen articles or quotes from Kevin Feige or quotes from anybody at Marvel where they're saying it's a movie. I've only ever heard that. So if it is going to be a show or a movie that's exclusive to Disney Plus, no skin off my back. I'm gonna get the Disney streaming service November 12th. I'll be signing up for that, no problems, and I hope that it's either on there or in the theaters. But I do think they're gonna go theaters for that, because they're gonna still want movie content in the theaters. So they have several shows slated right now. Falcon and Winter Soldier. They've got Loki. They've got what was the others? Let me see. Falcon and Winter Soldier, Loki, WandaVision, and what was the other one? There was the There's another one. You got to remind me what this one is. Nevertheless, I'll circle back around to that. I don't want to waste your guys' time. But it's let's keep going. So you said very interesting. You say, I'd say the blonde hair could be a tease to what's to come. Good catch. And Bucky and Falcon's TV series could cross over with the Black Widow TV series. 100% it could. It would be freaking sick. I would love to see that happen. And I'm pretty sure that in the series, Falcon is already going to be Captain America, because in Endgame he's already given the shield. It would be really, really cool to be able to see them interact together as the new Captain America and then the Winter Soldier, and just the adventures and the trouble they get into would be amazing. I'd love to see that. And any crossovers, I know that they're going to do crossovers. You got to believe they're going to do some crossovers. Even if it's just like one episode, that would be amazing. If Black Widow is a TV series, yes. So if it's I'm sorry guys, I got some mad allergies today. Oh, I'm so sorry. My eyes are like on fire. So anyways, the Black Widow movie would be really, really cool. I think let's see it. Maybe IMDb has something to say about it. It just says it's in pre-production right now. Do you guys see this right here? Pre-production, and that was updated on the 22nd of July 2018. So yeah, that was a little while ago. So they might change it. Who knows? But it was updated. It was about a year ago. So I guess that is a little while ago. But nevertheless, I think it's going to be pretty cool. And I really hope that they give David Harbour a sick role, because it's a shame that Hellboy is flopping so hard. I mean, I think it only made like it was something stupid low, like $17 million, and it had like a $100 million production budget or something like that. So I hope that he's a talented actor. I hope that he gets some recognition. You guys have already seen my fan casting videos. I want him to play Beast. If he played the Thing for the Fantastic Four, I'd be stoked. Doesn't really matter, but nevertheless. And then you say, dude, you're the bomb. No worries about reading my comments. Just collab with me, dude. All day I'll collab with you, bro. All day. I have this this little slide up above, and it says if you want to collaborate, email me or DM me. And it flips and rotates. I have it on a slideshow loop. And so, but dude, all day. And I love collaborating with you, Nerdy Blood. You're my favorite. And yeah, we will for sure do some collabs, some discussions. But as far as I'm going to go ahead and just shut this one down, because I don't think we need these images up anymore. But before this video gets too long and too crazy, just some final thoughts to just circulate and reiterate. I do think that time travel and multiverse are really great options to use in Marvel movies, in Marvel TV shows. I think it's awesome if it's handled correctly. I don't think that doing something like DC Legends of Tomorrow is necessary. DC Legends of Tomorrow has literally the same format for every episode. It's like we go to the past, we find racists and lesbians everywhere we go. And no matter what timeline, no matter where you are, 100% of the time, you're guaranteed for a lesbian relationship to occur. And then also slavery every single place you go, or teases at slavery, or slavery's every place you go. So it's we get it, dude. Can we have new episodes that are actually new episodes? That would be nice. There was a really fun one where they went to Japan and did a samurai thing. That was fun. And then after that, I stopped watching because I was dude, the next 7 episodes were the exact same thing over and over. But yeah, the Legends of OBS. I'm the Legend of OBS. I'm the Legend of online broadcasting software where I can make easy videos with little to no editing. And I just prep the video and I just hit stream, let's go live, and just have a fun conversation. That's what I love doing. Love talking to you guys. I'm not much of a critic. I am a critic in my personal life with my friends, but my close buddies and everybody know me as the guy that just thinks everybody is awesome, and everything is awesome. And that's not true. It's not accurate. But I talk most entirely about the things that I like. I don't like to talk about the things that I don't like. It's not fun for me. I like to talk about the things that I enjoy. And so you guys will see a lot of my videos. Almost all of them are things that I enjoy talking about. I don't like to dump on stuff. You know what I mean? That's not fun for me. But I do like to debate with people who like to dump on stuff, because I like to bring intellectual criticisms to things and make my cases for those types of things. So I have fun talking with people like that all the time. My wife's one of those. A lot of my best friends are that, and so it's I like to have a little bit of difference. But as far as being able to appreciate time travel or flashbacks or origin movies that take place in the past, all day. You can do those all day. I'd be happy with those things. I'm looking forward to Matt Reeves' The Batman, which is a DCU film taking place in the past, which is supposed to be as close to disconnected but still viably within the the DCEU as you can get, I'm all about that. Let's do that. Let's do 100 of those. I don't care. And then let's do, you know, Black Widow in the past. Let's do a past Winter Soldier movie where he had to take on, like, I don't know, Namor the Submariner or something. You know what I mean? And like he fails the mission or whatever, but he survives. And you know, that would be crazy. I don't know. Like you could do a billion stories using either time travel or just going back to the past, telling a story that happened in the past instead of moving the continuity forward. I hope Star Wars does that. I hope that the guys that wrote what was it, Game of Thrones, that what they're doing for Star Wars, I hope that it's the Old Republic. I hope they go back like 1,000 years or something, or at least several hundred years before the Phantom Menace, and just go nuts with all the different Jedi that were there, all the different Sith. I mean, I think a couple hundred years is not far enough. I think the Rule of Two was established at that time, but before the Rule of Two, there was hundreds and thousands of Jedi and Sith at the same time, and they were warring together. I want that. I want freaking Lord of the Rings with lightsabers. That's what I want. And then you could do Game of Thrones, where people are dying left and right. All your favorite characters, you meet someone, you see them, and then they die, and then you like get to love some other character, and then they get killed off. You know, it's like you never know what's gonna happen. They're the guys that did that with Game of Thrones. They're the guys that could do it with Star Wars, and that would be fresh, and that would be awesome. And I think everybody would pretty much love that. So. It's little consequences too, because you're not dealing with the Skywalker bloodline. It's before that. So literally anybody could be lightsaber fodder, you know? It's like, that would be fun. And I think Marvel can stand to do a couple of those as well. So I'm not mad at all with like time travel and multiverse. I'm totally down for the multiverse. If they want to use the multiverse as a way to kind of somehow bring in the X-Men, which I don't think they will, I'm totally okay with that, because people were not okay with time travel in the MCU. They're like, oh, that's cheap. That's a cop-out. It's weak, you know. They're like, that's poor writing. But look at Endgame. Everyone who's leaving Endgame is like walking out in tears. It's like the best movie you've ever seen. Not really, but, you know, it's like it's one of the greatest cinematic experiences that you could ever do as a comic book fan. It's crazy. And no one's complaining about the time travel now. It's like nitpickers, like super nitpickers, like the Screen Rant guy, Ryan George, who I love. I love that guy. I think his pitch meetings are amazing, but that's what he does. He's a nitpicker. That's what pitch meetings are. And they're funny as all heck, though. You should check those out. They're great. But nevertheless. So anyway, let's check out some of the comments. It says, hashtag Star Wars from Ready Blurb TV. And also, dude, yes, I'll be a Star Wars fan if they did that. I am telling you, Old Republic is the way to go. Let me just balance my camera real quick. There we go. Thought I had autofocus off. That's weird. Nevertheless, I'm really excited, and I hope that they do that. So, you guys, I want you guys to let me know if you guys think that I was able to kind of plant some of these thought seeds in your mind. If I was able to change your thinking a little bit about the time travel, about the multiverse, or about possibly the Black Widow movie. There was the conundrum. People were saying there was a problem with the Black Widow movie because Scarlett Johansson's character, Natasha Romanoff, is dead in Endgame. So now what are you going to do? Are you going to do just like Spider-Man, where it's like you announce the movie, the character dies, well, we know they're coming back. What if she doesn't come back? That's the whole point of this, is like, what if she never comes back? What if it's only in the memory of the next Black Widow, and the next Black Widow is the one getting it, and maybe she's played by Florence Pugh? That would be crazy, a wicked crazy twist, where it's not the Black Widow that we've grown to love, but it's a Black Widow that we never could actually trust, because you never know where her true intentions lie. That would be insane. That would be nuts. I'd be super stoked for that. That'd be crazy. And then let's see this. I was that person about time travel, and they totally proved me wrong. I'm telling you, dude, like, so many people were like that. Like, my wife had said something about that. Some of my best friends, a guy who's been on the channel, Zach, was saying stuff like that. Like, I don't know, time travel, it just seems kind of like a cop-out. And it's like, it totally can be, but they set ground rules, and they took the time to elaborate and explain why they had to do things a certain way with time travel, and how it wasn't just willy-nilly. You can't just do whatever you want. And even though it's a fiction, so technically they are doing what they want, but it's, you know, they set up boundaries, they set up consequences and timeline to make sure that it has to be respected. You know what I mean? And so, and Scarlett Johansson's character died because of that. So, I think that the next Black Widow movie is going to be an amalgam of the memory of Natasha Romanoff, but also someone who's seeking to rise up to that occasion and become the next Black Widow. Or maybe she already has. Maybe we're going to see the next Black Widow who's taken her place start to stir up strife with the current Avengers. That would be insane. All right, and then next up, it's just because time travel is easily messed up, but they did it so unique. I completely agree. Next comment was time travel is real, so I'm a stickler on that. Yeah, bro, it's real. Nope, you're right. It's totally real. It's 100%. It's real. Hashtag 3000. Hashtag I love you 3000. It is legit. I want more time travel movies, but I want them done the way that Marvel respects time travel. That was amazing. It was awesome. And also, I want DC to give a crack at it with Booster Gold. That would be sick. Booster Gold and Blue Beetle. That's what I want. All right. Anyway, enough of that. This video has gone on quite long enough. But anyways, thank you guys so much for tuning in. Thank you for watching this video. If you guys like this video, make sure to give it a big thumbs up. Also, make sure to hit subscribe if you haven't already. And please turn on notifications so that you can be alerted right away when I go live next time. That way you can be a part of the discussion too, as well as Nerdy Blurb. And we can have fun in the comments and have these discussions with these types of videos. So anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. You guys stay tuned for more right here on The Stuff of Legend.